in between projects.
Sorry, Jackie.
No, you're fine. And then also kind of like the pre-bill workflow as well. So these are the kind of the items that we're going to be discussing today. But if anybody has any questions or anything, please interrupt. Please, like I will not feel any sort of way. If you have any questions that you want to throw in the chat. If you want to speak, I think we can even allow you to join the call and speak as well. Of course, you don't have to have a camera on or anything like that. But if you wanted to have like troubleshoot so many issues or anything like that with the time and billing piece, we can help you kind of troubleshoot those. But yeah, we can go ahead and get started if anyone doesn't have questions or anything so far. And I'll wait just a second.
I don't see anything yet.
Nope. Perfect. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
All right. Perfect. Okay. So inside of Filevine, there's a few different ways that you can actually do your time and billing piece. So the first thing I'll go over is your top static section up here. So this blue bar up here that stays with you all the time, no matter what project you click into, is this piece right here. And there is a little ticking timer that you're able to add timing to each project. So for instance, I can, if I had a call or something pop up and I want to go ahead and I've already have this particular project up, which is this grizzly bear versus squirrel company. And I've talked to a client, I can just say, this one's already been going. I can say, talk to client about blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, I have another client come in and try to, talk to me. What I can do is like add timer. And when I'm on the phone, I can go ahead and click which project I'm trying to go ahead and do. So let's just say it's this Harry Potter project. I go ahead and say, I want to start this timer. So now I can start a timer and I'm talking to the client and I can be able to have this go in between these two. So if I have them on hold or something like that, you can do that. Or you can keep this running and still be able to go through your regular Filevine piece as well. So I can even click in here, have that project even pull up. So then I can even go ahead and add my notes here as I'm speaking with the client. So then you are done. And then once you hit post this will also post into this project piece. So then you can see it in your time and billing matter as well. So there's also up in this static piece up here is your timesheets. Timesheets is pretty nifty tool because you can see your month or your weekly timesheets. So from Monday through your Sunday, you can see how many hours you've collected per on your user base. So this is just my user alone. This doesn't include anybody else on the team. So for instance, if I want to go ahead and add a particular time entry for it, call with client, blah, 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 add my time. And so it was 2 hours. I'll add this, and then now you can see it's reflected on my Wednesday piece. So it's a good tool to make sure you know what your weekly total is, and then also to make sure you know your monthly total. So if you're a high volume time and billing, this is good for your user bases. You can also run reports to see it if you are in some sort of management position and you want to make sure people are hitting their time and billing pieces. You can do that by running reports as well. And after I go over a few of the workflows, we can talk about the reporting option as well, because there's a few ways to report on time and billing, and one is an invoice report and two is a billing items report. So when you think of these types of time entries, you would want to have a different report based off of it. But this is really useful to make sure you're hitting your day-to-day. So in order to, of course, add those times, you hit add item. This is also the only spot in Filevine, this and another one, but this is the spot I would recommend adding time for other users. if you have an attorney that like you work with and they're just not someone that enters time. I worked for a firm that he was an older gentleman. He did not want to work in the system. So he would send me a spreadsheet of his time and I would enter it for him. So I know each firm has probably some of those attorneys. So essentially what you would do is you come in here, you can pick the projects, and then you can then add the team member of who you want to add in here. So then I can go ahead and just add in, let's say, Hillary, the type of codes you need to use for it, and even the type of hours. Now, the good thing about doing it this way too is that your rates will auto-populate according to who you put in here. So for instance, if I have me as just the Vine Skills attendee, you can see the rate changes. But if I put in Troy, let's see if he changes it. Yeah, Troy is a little bit more expensive with his rate. So that's pretty useful. And when you're putting time in, especially if you are someone that's putting in time for multiple different attorneys, you don't have to really think of the rates. It will auto do that. And these rates are able to be changed per project base, which essentially that just means is if that one client you only charge $375, but then some other clients you charge $300, you're able to auto program that. So then the person knows, or the system knows, that, and it will change it automatically. So let's go ahead and put this one in. Client call. Sorry. That's going to be my description on every one of them, probably. But yes. So this is an additional way of just making sure you're adding those times across and having it to each person. You can also add time into the project itself. So I think we use Money Penny a lot, or James Bond. It's Money Penny. Or no, is that her name?
Which one are you looking for? The Money Penny? Yep.
That one, yeah. And then we have billing piece in here. So you can add in your billing items into here as well. So the good thing about that is, well, if it'll load.
We must have a lot of items.
I think so on the invoice piece. So you can add in your time entries here as well. So if you click into here, you can see this will auto fill. Let me change out close some of my browsers. Maybe that's causing it to be a delay. And it's the same kind of concept. You can add in individual people into here, but remember, this is only going to Money Penny's case. So if I want to do it for multiple cases, like I just want to do it real quick, you will need to do the timesheets. That'll be easier. But if you're saying I have 5 things I need to do for this one particular case, it's maybe easier just to go in the case itself. You can click on me, and then that will auto put my particular team, and then, or my user, and then I can say how many hours I was doing this. So then, of course, you will put your hours, your type of description based, and then as well as particular codes that is associated with that as well. That's another way that you can add in this particular project. Another cool way to do it inside of Filevine too is that I can preset some of these time pieces in a task. So for instance, if I have a certain item that I know it's going to take a certain amount of time. So if your firm knows that a certain amount of pleadings, things like that, are coming in for drafting documents, I can say let's say Troy draft pleadings, and then I put this time entry piece in here. I can go ahead and build out some of this for him, which is really helpful for ones that if you're dealing with attorneys that try to go through things fast, this will automatically populate. So when he clicks done, that this task will already say this takes an hour. You can even put it in here and they can edit it. This isn't something that is embedded inside of the task. It is something that can be edited. But say, for instance, you have this where you already know what type of things that need to be in it, and you're drafting pleadings. Then when he comes in here and clicks this, it automatically generates some of these items for me. So then he doesn't have to spend so much time actually filling this out. This will already be filled out. If he ended up doing less time or more time, he can edit that piece and then hit save and complete. And then that has now been saved in our billing items as well. So that's another cool way of adding time inside of the activity feed. I also see some firms do it where, say, for instance, you have task flows coming from your doc, or you have task flows coming through, you can set it up through that way as well. So say, for instance, you have for paralegals to set up a file or something needs to be done that always has to be done, and you usually have the same amount of time for it. You can come into your task flows. Let's just do as an example one through your phase and say it's this project setup. I can come over here and say add tracking details, put in the description for it, and then even what type of code it is. So then the suggested hours is the same kind of concept as the last one, doing it where I was messaging Troy through it. I would say it would take about 2 hours to do, and it would be assigned to a particular person on it. So once I hit save for that, now this task, it will happen immediately, and then you can go ahead and see that the task will already be created. So this is our Vine Skills Let's Practice one. Let me see if I can go ahead and give you an example. Let's see if that will populate for me.
There it goes. Is that it?
No, I think it was. Let me refresh it. I think it was just a hashtag piece. Let me go through and make sure. It's phase.
Project setup.
Let me try one more thing. Sorry, I might just see some delays in here. But essentially, it would be doing the same thing on the lines of it will send you a task and set it up for you, like essentially. So let me try a different one just to give you guys an idea of what that would look like. Let's just do new matter. And I will have that pump out of the new matter one. Go back to task flows. New matter, phases. We'll do like a pre-suit one. We'll create a new one. Draft docs. When phase changes 0, add time, description. Drafting docs. The particular time code and the suggested hours. Perfect. All right. And then let's go ahead to a new matter. And then we'll go over to, I think I did it under.
I think it was pre-suit. Oh, yeah.
Suit, did I do it under that one? Let's try that one. Yep, you're right. Okay, so now you can see it was draft documents in under pre-suit. And everything you're seeing right here, we have an automation basically that will show you who changed it and the phase in pre-suit. So that's the reason why you're seeing that you may not have, but if you are interested in, that's part of our magic box of skills. But yes, so it's draft documents. Once I click confirm, now you can see that this is already saved and done. So this is really useful for when you have things that are automatically happening all the time, and that you can go ahead and hit save and complete. And then now this is posted in my billing and time. So then I don't have to sit here and worry about additional like drafting docs. I don't have to worry about additional inputting of time. It's automatically doing it for me. Now, of course, you don't want to get like too into depth with it when things are not done all the time, because it will pop that up and want to say save and complete. Of course, you can say, no, I don't want to enter that time, but it's just an extra step. So I definitely recommend it for items that are things that happen, like drafting certain documents that you're already going to bill for. So if you're insurance defense or something, and you see you're drafting an answer, that's a phase. We can have an answer phase. You go into answer phase, that becomes one of your tasks. And then once you hit complete, it will automatically populate there. So that's kind of why the task on automatic wise is kind of neat. So you don't have to worry about doing that every time, even though you do it. Have to anyways. All right. Perfect. So inside of Filevine as well, on the billing time piece is you can come over here into advanced settings. So now we're kind of talking in, you've already billed your time, you're ready at the end of the month, and now we're going to start doing your pre-bill workflow. So you start running your invoices and you have people looking at them. So what I'll do is I'll come over here into my billing setup. These are all the unbilled items per project base. So if I want to go ahead and set these up to go next step to your pre-bill workflow, which is I'll then move it from invoice, and then I go into pending, approval, approved, and then finalize it. So those are type of the steps that you have to kind of think about when you're doing the invoicing piece. So first thing what you'll do is the person who's in charge or whoever does the invoicing piece, kind of like a part of your billing department, will come in here, and then they will go ahead and generate and create this invoice for Moneypenny. Now this invoice has been queued and moved over into our invoicing stage. Then you can see invoices are in this section. This will take just a moment because you'll see I have a lot of invoices to do. So now I'm in the editing stage. So I can click on Moneypenny and go ahead and click some of the entries I want to go ahead and apply to the invoice. So for instance, this testing here, I don't need to, of course, apply that to the invoice so the client will see it. And then I hit save. So anything checked items will be on the invoice. Anything that's unchecked is not on the invoice piece. So I can go ahead and hit save. And then now you can see that piece is saved inside of here. So with that, so let me click in just to show you guys kind of that look. You can see how now that's still unchecked. So the next step is that you want to move it through the stages to send for approving. So I can go ahead, it's in editing, I send for approval. What this just means is the person that is responsible for that invoice, so the billing attorney, some sort of person who has to look over their own time and billing, needs to come in and look at their approved invoices. And what that looks like is, sorry, I had to refresh it. Let this download. And what that just means is you have editing, pending approval, approved, and then the finalizing piece of it. So now you can see this same item is pending approval. I can come in here and say, I just want to see my ones that I need to do. I don't need to see my other teammates to see if they're what they need to approve. And then I can click on status to see what type of stages I'm in. But now I know for this month, I need to go into Moneypenny and approve this invoice. So then I go in here and say, okay, everything, it looks good. It looks like the billing specialist person helped me out on this one. Actually, that one I don't really need. So I'll go ahead and save that and then set this up for finalizing. So what I'll do is I'll come in here. And you can do this in a more mass way, of course, like you can see these are filtered out. So I can come over here and say, I just want to check out my pending approval ones. Oh, nice. That's all I have. But if there's additional ones, you would see it here as well. So for instance, if you need to look at certain approvals, all that piece. Oh, let me reset this. I got a little too click happy.
You're on a roll.
Yeah, I was little click happy and wasn't able to get. Okay, so now you can see, now it's time for, this is now to go to approve. So you can see if you hover over it, it says approve. I can click on that, hit approve, and now my invoices are queued up to be approved. So what that just means is that now it's time to go back to the billing team to make sure that they're sending all these invoices out and the finalized invoice. So this is the one that will be sent out to the client because my billing attorney has already looked at it. It is good to go, and we're heading out for an invoice piece. So we'll go ahead and go to an approved one. And let's do this one right here because we'll hit our next stage, final invoice. We click this. This is now the final invoice piece to be invoiced to the client. We'll hit finalize, and now it's queued to be finalized invoice to the client. So that is the pre-bill workflow of how to get those at the end of the month. We build them all. It's time to get invoiced, and now we've got them invoiced. And now you can see anytime you see something like this, that means it is queued up. So this Filevine is in the process of creating that and moving it to its next stage. But yeah, and so anything an unbilled means this exactly, I guess what it kind of states is this hasn't been billed yet for it. So this means this hasn't been invoiced. I haven't set it up to be finalized. I have not even set it up to be reviewed by the rest of the team. So that means like if there needs to be edit, this is the true baby version of the billing process. Once you hit create invoice, and you can do this in a mass way too. So for instance, I can click all of them and invoice them at one time. Once you hit create invoice, then that's when you start moving into that phase. Now, another useful thing would be to have reports for attorneys who are in that approval state. So for instance, if I want to run a report and I want to see and make sure that my attorneys are reviewing those and they know what needs to be reviewed every time, you can go into invoices and run a report based off that. Then the thing that you will run off of is called mode. So you can go into criteria. You want to, and that's how you're able to criteria this down. So of course, everything in Filevine is all about the criteria. You want to make sure that once you have that criteria in, you're able to move forward and have a little bit more idea of what the reporting looks like. So I can run a report to see pending approval. And once I run this, then I can see all of my invoices that I'm waiting for approval on. Let's see, of course. Do we have none? Let's change it up and do, let's see if we have anything in report. Perfect. So it's the same kind of concept. I think we just ran out of ones for pending approval, but these are the ones that are in the editing stage. That's the one right before that pre-approved. So, the pending approval one. So essentially, these are the ones that need to be moved through the stages. So what you can do is run these and then even send them out via email to your team. So then I can go ahead and save these invoices and then have an auto report sent every month at the end of the month. So say you want to do these billing items, maybe on the last Friday of the month piece, or just on the 27th in the mornings, I can hit save here. And then now this will automatically send this email at the end of every month to go ahead and check out those links and all. Let me unsubscribe to that so we don't get our emails blown up. You can also, what I find very helpful too, is run these for each attorney and then share that report with the attorney. So then I could go ahead and say, Troy needs to be notified of each of these. And now he is shared with this particular invoicing report. So then in his report builder, he will already have this as an option to click on. So there is no building. He just clicks on it and it's fresh data every time he clicks on it. That is a useful report that I see a lot of firms use. But kind of going back on a little bit too on the items of the report builder of your billing items, you can run and see pieces of your billing items for other team members as well. So this is just a report based off of what your actually entries are. And that's important because as you're up in the timesheets, you can't see what people are actually billing individually. And this is a good way to be able to see the rate, the user, and then the total that each of those items are. And if you want to filter those back, you will do that by either mode or you can even do it by status. And what I mean by filtering back means is if I don't want to have this included in my report. So if I only care to see Zach's, I can run and use criteria to only see user and full name when Zach appears. It's the same kind of concept when you're over here in status. I can come over here and see, I only see finalized of what Zach has done. I don't care to see anything else other than that. And that's where you find most of your reporting capabilities. And the same kind of concept here is if you want to go ahead and save it and share it, I think it's a really useful report. So then the team knows how to share it or like what they have to focus on each month because as a team, because some firms, of course, they have team goals that they want to meet on the billings side of things. So you're only able in timesheets to see my user, but I want to see how everybody's doing. So I can run this and do it by that way. I can also create Excel reports on that, which just basically means if I want to report and make this look like a really fun way, I can create these templated versions of it. So essentially, if I go to export options, I can create a template of what I want to see. So if I just want to see certain items in this Excel report, I'll show you here. Here, you can see these kind of look like your doctrine codes. You find these very similar to that kind of concept. But what you can do is you can say, I want to total out your raw quantity, which means is what they've billed, and rate. So I can just click on this and say total this out and then save this as a template. And that's a way to see kind of individual items and the totals out of that portion. Because if you do final total, then it repeats. But if I just want to see total per user, we can do this through this way to be able to run weekly for teammates to see kind of what it looks like on a total aspect of things. So you can just click here, hit the sum of it. We can just sum it and then have that come down here. And then once we generate it, then it can show up and all that good stuff. And then you would, oh, sorry, sharing the wrong screen. Yep, and then you would re-upload it into your upload template piece, and then you can get that email to you when you say not share report, auto report settings, and then say I want it weekly for my team, and I want them to get it, let's say on Monday mornings. Then every Monday morning, they would receive an email stating how many hours they've been working on this month or a particular range that you want to criteria it down for. Some things that are interesting in the time of billing piece and where you can get creative is in the actual in that Excel file. So if the math can't be done, say in Filevine, you can do the math in the Excel formula and it remembers it. And essentially anytime the data is entered there, then those items will appear. We can go more in depth on that piece on another call, because that would be a little bit more in depth build out as to go through, but we can do that, of course, on another one. I know we do some Fusion talk and all that as well. But so far, does anybody have any questions? I know I've gone through pretty fast here.
So far, no questions. I don't see any in the chat, so don't be shy if you have a question about anything Jackie was talking about. We can unmute you if it's easier.
Yeah. All right. So if we have some admins on the call as well, we can kind of go in depth of kind of what the billing setup looks like. So in Filevine, like I was saying, I can schedule someone's type of rates. So if I have a different rate per customer, I can come in here and create my own rate schedule. So I'll call this rates. I'll just call that my rates. And I will set these up, and I'll use Troy. I'll keep picking on Troy. Let's say he's 300. And then I will say, if I can find Nikki. Okay, Nikki will be 400. And then I'll give my access Divine Skills team 200. And the reason I'll show you this is because then I can assign it. So I can go ahead and say I want to do it minimum of this. And you can see how there's new rates for each one. So my default one is anytime I create a project, this will be my hourly rates. No matter what project I create, this is my default. Then I have one that are like my special ones. So use the default one as what you use the most of the time. And then I know that can change quite significantly depending on the type of firm you are. But if you have one that you lean more towards, use that. A lot of times, if there's in-court fees and out-of-court fees, things like that, or pre-suit fees and lawsuit fees, things like that, definitely start it with pre-suit, and then you can change it accordingly after if that doesn't fit in that script. But for instance, I created this new rate schedule. I can now go into the Money Penny one, and I'm going to say, for example, here, my rate schedule and settings. I can now change my rate schedule inside of here. Let's see. Yeah, this is the same one I had issues with.
That's not the name.
Let's see. See if we can get in this one. Looks like our rate schedule is not wanting to work. Let's see. The idea on that piece, though, and some of this stuff might look a little different according to kind of what your Filevine looks like, because some of the stuff we have is in beta, and so that might be what we're seeing here, the delay in piece. Let me see.
I'm trying to see if I could.
Sorry, it looks like we'll go into a one. Yep. I think we're just having some issues with this piece of it. But anyways, essentially what will happen is you would have your rate down here to be able to choose that schedule. And then once it's assigned to this particular project, Filevine then will remember that. So then it will know how to use that in other settings. Like it will know every time I'm in timesheets and I have a Michael Scott one, that it will then remember, okay, Michael Scott equals Troy at 300, Nikki at 400, Vine Skills at 200. It will automatically remember those items because you assigned it to a particular one. Also, sorry, I'm not clicking. Also on that is you can give access to people as well to see certain time and rates and for each person. So it will hide it essentially so people can't view particular rates. So for instance, if you have a firm, like if you're a firm that you don't want others to know how much I charge hourly versus another charges hourly, it'd be important that we control that billing access so people don't always see it. So then we know, okay, Ivan can see it, but we know that Jackie Tilson from Vine Skills shouldn't be able to see it. Things like that is a good way to be able to measure differently. And I think a lot of firms usually either want certain, like they want the billing person to see it and then only see my time if I'm a billing attorney. Then you would only allow certain people to view those particular rates. Of course, if I can view my rates if I bill, so if I'm in this toggled off, I can view my rates. I just can't view other people's rates and pieces. Also, this is going to be the new time code piece to it too. So we can go over kind of what that looks like as well. So the old time codes piece looked a little bit different. You have that green little plus button, very similar to the rates over here where you click on the and you add additional ones. But now it's a little bit different in the way you can even change position of things. I can enter additional codes here. Let's just say 238. And I can be able to add and adjust things like this and then delete on this way. Versus it looked a little bit different. Before I couldn't clear everything out at once. I couldn't do certain functionalities that this one can do now. And you're able to adjust the kind of what their names are, be able to have a little bit more flexibility in this piece as well. Also, they have limited, so there's only 6 of these now. So you can have up to 6 of these types of codes, entry pieces, and expense. So you can have some flat fee pieces, and then your time codes are 2. So it separates them by 2. And you can see there's a little break right here. If you see this little white line, there's time codes here. So you get 1 and 2, and then you have expense codes, testing pieces, and then flat fee pieces right here as well. Then you have your invoice template. So this is going back to that approval piece. I typically recommend people have a role for that. That can either be billing attorney, originating attorney, some sort of, or even a lot of firms have used approver or in taken that term from Filevine and really using that and saying you're the billing approver for this case. And what that just means is for that invoice in that pre-bill workflow, you have to assign that to a role inside of Filevine, and that role becomes part of each of those team items. So for instance, if I want to go ahead and change that role, I can come over here in invoices, then click invoice approval, and then what type of person I want. So I can go ahead and choose individual ones, or if I can even show you how to create a different role, so then you can see what that it calls. Oh, I misspelled that one. Why am I misspelling this so much? There we go, invoice. Watch me. It said it was created. Anyways, so now I can say this person is now going to be the invoice role. So now you can go over into a project. So let's say, for instance, let's do that Money Penny one. Money Penny project. And now I can go in and show my roles. And I want to make sure I have one set up. And I will make Asia the invoicer on this particular one. So now she has become this role assignment. And you can go over roles and you can see now this, we have one set up. So this is going to be anytime there is Money Penny is being used and has an item that needs to be reviewed, the approver will become the invoicer. Before it was the primary on here, so that's why you saw Troy when we were doing the examples, but now we have a separate role for that and it's called this one. And the reason why setting up a separate role for that is a good idea, it's only in those instances where there's like a lot of if then. So if it's on Thomas' case, Hannah is the approver, but on Thomas' case where Susan's the paralegal, Susan reviews it. So a lot of those if, ands, and buts and things like that, it's really good to have a separate role for that, because then you're able to either mass do it and mass update it. So say that Susan or Hannah leaves, we can be able to mass update that to make sure that doesn't slip through the cracks. Or it's also a good idea when you do have someone at the end of the month that is sick and you want to make sure they're still the billing attorney overall so their task flows don't get messed up, but you do want someone else to review their billing items so then you can still send those invoices out. So then you can switch those roles seamlessly for those and then switch it back once they come back. Go back to billing setup. Codes, let's go to invoice and I'll change that back just so my team doesn't know what happened. Then you can set, so if you have like a email that you want the invoices to send invoices email from Filevine, you can have them come to this and then it replies to that as well. What we could do is even have that as like your mailbox room, your mail room, all that good stuff. And that can be that piece. I even see some firms do it where it's a particular project. So then you just call the project name to be emails from invoices, and then it can go directly into the project itself. Then you can also do your leads settings, which this is just your firm ID, which is a lot of times your tax ID. So then whenever you're generating your leads piece from your invoicing and downloading it in those websites, it will have the correct invoice settings piece of that. You can also have, of course, invoice generation. So all invoices PDF to select projects when you toggle this one on. So then it will generate PDFs and save it into the docs section on that. Payment settings, you can do terms. So 1530, just depending on what kind of terms you want to do. So you can say the certain term code and then have it due in a certain amount of days. You can even set these as like an org default. So kind of like what I was showing in the rate schedule, we were having a little bit of a functionality thing there going, but you can also per project level set other settings, which is kind of helpful when you have a lot of settings that are depending on that one client or one type of client. So if you're getting a new type of client coming in, but you're only getting around 10 cases, you don't want to set it as your default yet, then you can kind of see and judge and be able to go into individual each one and set their own kind of terms up for it. Also, you have your invoicing one. So if you're sending an invoice through Filevine and you have a certain amount of codes that you want to use, you have an invoice template here. This is the one that's automatically done, but you can change these depending on kind of what you wanted added. I've even talked to some firms where they still just have company logo in it when they generate it. That's as simple as just taking that out and then inserting your logo right here. And then what you'll do is then upload it back inside of your template piece here, which is your upload template. Then you can go ahead and upload that piece there and it will generate a new update and everything. And this will be your templated version. Also, you can then choose field selectors. So showing that invoice piece Let me delete that. These are the items that you can add in there. So this is very similar to like doc gens, things like that, that you're able to add in type of items inside of your invoice piece as well. So if you ever need like a client matter ID, the current balance, things like that, that you want to trade out. I've had some firms that want like an invoice ID at a certain spot, like a link, and same kind of concept with mode. Just means if this is a final invoice, is this a what type of mode in Filevine just means what type of phase they are in with the pre-bill workflow piece. And some firms might go straight into billing. If you don't really need that pre-bill workflow piece, you can just go to straight into invoicing and skip that invoice to have less people check it out. But yeah, and that's how you would update the new template. I'll change this out just for our sake. And we went over this, but let's go back to JT's rates. I can come in here and say add new rates in here as well, and then those expenses will also be updated in that project when you change your rate schedule on the project level. Yeah, we're right on the timepiece. Does anybody have any questions? I know we went through a lot today with reporting, but we can get more into depth on the reporting side of things in our next time and billing call, and in how we can be creative and try to figure out ways to get those items that are commonly used by firms as well.
Well, you covered a lot, Jackie. That was a lot of really great information.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to drink some water.
There's no questions that are coming in. We do share these webinars on our website. We have a lot of content there. If you ever needed to look for a topic, you can always skim through our website. We have the free help section and webinar section. So we have like a nice library there as well. But oh wait, I think I have one. Is there one question?
Yeah, somebody said very helpful. Thank you so much.
Oh, great. Awesome.
Yeah, feel free to email us too anytime, guys. If you guys have questions, a lot of times we can pop on a 30-minute call and work things out for free. You guys don't even have to pay anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.